The Sports Town Podcast.
Hello, it is Sunday, May 23rd, 2021. I am back from vacation and ready to go. Thanks again so much for listening. I greatly appreciate it, and you will again love this week's episode. First up today is Mike from the Indy Fanatics podcast. Now, we talk about the Indy 500, a preview of it. I know it's next week, but I wanted to get a jump start on it. Definitely one of the greatest spectacles in racing. It's a very fun race to watch if you have not, which I'm assuming you have because you're a sports fan, because you're listening to this podcast. But again, don't forget to check out his podcast on YouTube. Subscribe. He's also on Instagram and Twitter at Indy Fanatics. Again, that conversation was great. Go check that out. Now, I'm still suffering a little bit from a cold, so I didn't sound my normal self. But again, it was a great conversation. You will love that. And then we have reoccurring guest Andrew Jones. He is a comedian, avid Milwaukee Bucks fan, and the co-host of the Pickle Podcast. Go check out the Pickle Podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. We talk about the NBA playoffs. Now, there was a conversation we talked about the Warriors and Grizzlies. That was because the recording was from Thursday night. So again, that was a little... So the Grizzlies, of course, won on Friday night, so you'll probably wonder why, but that was because it was before. So we did know, but again, at the time, that game versus the Warriors and Grizzlies had not happened yet. But again, go check that out. That conversation was great. Again, you will love it as well. And again, don't forget to follow Andrew Jones on Instagram and Facebook at Andrew Jones Comedy. And then, of course, as always, we have the Sports Lightning Round, poll question, questions from Instagram, highlight of the week, and much more. And now, let's get to the highlight of the week.
Ground ball to Gleyber Torres, and that'll do it. A no-hitter for Corey Kluber. On a Wednesday night in Texas, Kluber becomes part of forever.
That was Corey Kluber of the Yankees. Can you believe it? Another no-hitter this season. We've had so many no-hitters that I think fans are getting annoyed with it. Never thought I'd see that, but again, that's crazy, especially nowadays. But anyways, the Yankees went on to beat the Rangers 2-0 on Wednesday night. Michael Kay, longtime Yankees broadcasters and at the Yes Network, was on the call. Now let's get to our poll question. You can again vote every week on Instagram and Facebook at Sportstown_podcast and on Twitter at SportsTownPod. Now this week's question was, who is your NBA League MVP? Is it Steph Curry or Luka Doncic? Or not Luka Doncic, excuse me, Nikola Jokic. And most of you said Steph Curry. I thought Jokic would be the MVP, but I think right now at the moment of this recording, he was at 67%. So that's a little shocking. I thought it would be Jokic, but again, we'll see what ends up happening. Again, now with Steph Curry not even in the playoffs, he's likely not going to get it. It's going to go to Jokic, but of course the voting was already done before that. But again, thanks for voting. You can vote on Instagram and Facebook at Sportstown_podcast or on Twitter at SportsTownPod. Again, that comes out every week. I'll put it on Wednesday and Fridays along as well with their questions from Instagram. And now onto the Sports Lightning Round, your biggest sports stories from the world this week. Jake Paul has signed with Showtime. Showtime will be Paul's new home for boxing. The 22-year-old was previously with Thriller Fight Club and was a free agent. Earlier this week, Thriller CEO Ryan Kavanaugh said that Thriller wished Paul well, but we've gone the distance with him that we can go. The brand Showtime had promoted many boxing names such as Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, and Mike Tyson. The YouTuber now turned boxer is 3-0 in his professional fighting career. Paul recently knocked out retired UFC welterweight Ben Askren and has had many run-ins with celebrities. Recently, Paul and UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman had some words on Twitter. At UFC 261, the undefeated boxer and retired heavyweight fighter Daniel Cormier had words, and fans started chanting F Jake Paul. Now it seems Tommy Fury wants to get in and fight Jake Paul. He even had a recent video with his stepbrother Tyson Fury and Shaq in a recent video to call out the YouTuber. It's only a matter of time before Jake Paul has his next fight scheduled, and it will be quite a show. It's official, Jags fans. Tim Tebow has officially signed with the Jaguars on a 1-year minimum contract. The contract is less than $1 million, and it seems as the 2007 Heisman Trophy winner is the 90th man on the roster. According to multiple reports, Tebow will wear number 85 instead of his famous 15 number. Backup quarterback Gardner Minshew has the jersey number 15. Also reported by Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, the former Florida prospect leads the league in jersey sales. After being signed, Tebow stated, "I want to thank the Jaguars for the opportunity to compete and earn the challenge to be part of this team." He continued, "I know it will be a challenge, but it's a challenge I embrace." The Jags will have a lot of eyes on them this season after drafting Trevor Lawrence and signing one of the most polarizing players in college football history, Tim Tebow. Breaking news in baseball. According to Jeff Passan of ESPN and Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic and Fox Sports, the Seattle Mariners have at least one player who tested positive for COVID-19. Passan went on Twitter on Friday saying the Seattle Mariners have at least one COVID positive. Sources tell ESPN, and there is a concern within the organization that the relatively low level of vaccinations within the clubhouse could be the problematic. The Mariners, sources said, are among the least vaccinated teams in MLB. It is also reported that if a player tests positive for coronavirus, they are not allowed to play. The candidates for the NBA League MVP have been announced. Denver Nuggets center Nikola Jokic, Warriors point guard Steph Curry, and Philadelphia 76ers center Joel Embiid. They also reveal the candidates for other awards on Inside the NBA on Thursday night. Currently, Nuggets center Nikola Jokic, or the Joker for short, is the favorite to win the award. He played in all 72 games and averaged 26 points per game. The Serbian also averaged 10 rebounds per game and 8.3 assists per game. He also shot 38.6% from beyond the line and led Denver to the 3 seed in the West. Steph Curry had also had a great season as well. Despite Curry just trying to get into the playoffs, Curry led the league in scoring and averaged 32 points per game. The two-time league MVP played 63 games this season and did everything he could to get the Warriors into the playoffs. And last but not least, we have Joel Embiid. Embiid had an edge on the MVP race earlier, but got injured and missed 20 games. For this season, Embiid averaged 28 points per game, 10.6 rebounds per game, and 2.5 assists per game. The former Kansas product led Philly to the best record in the Eastern Conference. Antonio Brown has not officially signed with the Bucs just yet. According to multiple reports, the former Central Michigan product will have to pass his physical on his knee. The newly crowned Super Bowl champ just recently had a cleaned-up surgery on his knee. According to insider Ian Rappaport, if he passes the physical, he will be signed by the Super Bowl champs officially. Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians went on the Peter Report podcast and said, "It's just a matter of the physical." He continued, "He's never had surgery in his life, so it's just a matter of getting the physical done. I wanted him back the whole time." Antonio Brown played 8 games for the Buccaneers last year and caught 45 passes for 483 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had a touchdown against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Atlanta Hawks interim coach Nate McMillan has been fined by the league $25,000 for making comments about how the league wants the Knicks in the playoffs. On Wednesday, McMillan stated to the media that everyone wants New York to win and using that as motivation to beat the Knicks. The 1973 NBA champs have not made the playoffs since 2013 and have been terrible until this season. McMillan said about the Knicks, "I've gone as far as saying the league wants this. They need this. New York, this is a big market. It's a big market for the league, and New York has been out of the playoffs for a number of years. And this is a team that our league, they want to see. There's a huge fan base. They want to see New York in the playoffs. They want to see the Lakers in the playoffs, teams like that, the Boston Celtics. They want to see these teams in the playoffs, and I put New York in that category. That the league wants to see it. Everybody wants to see it." The Vancouver Canucks have extended head coach Travis Green. Green has been extended for 2 more years. Despite the Canucks' struggles this season and missing the playoffs, they have decided to bring back Green. After being extended, Green stated, "It's got down to the wire. Ultimately, I wanted to be here. I'm just thankful that we got it done." He continued, I wouldn't have signed back here if I didn't believe that we were going to win. I want to win, and that's why I signed back here." He has been at Vancouver since 2017 and has missed the postseason 4 of the 5 seasons he has coached. To sum it all up, it will be a wild summer for the Canucks. For the 3rd time since 2018, Deontay Wilder will take on WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. The fight is scheduled to take place on July 24th in Las Vegas. Most likely, T-Mobile Arena will host the championship bout. The last time they fought, Tyson Fury knocked out Deontay Wilder in the 7th round to become the WBC undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. According to Wilder's camp, There was a clause in the contract that required Fury to fight Wilder before September 15th. If Fury defeats Wilder for the second time, most likely he will fight IBF and WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua. Fury and Wilder have not fought anyone since their bout in February of 2020. Tyson Fury is 30-0-1 with 21 knockouts. Deontay Wilder is 42-1-1. He has 41 knockouts, and his only loss came to Tyson Fury. And now on to our interviews with Mike from Indy Fanatics and Andrew Jones from the Pickle Podcast to discuss the NBA playoffs. All right, I'm pleased to be joined from Mike from the Indy Fanatics podcast. How's it going, Mike?
It's going very well, JJ. Thanks for having me on. It was a kind of a bit of a last minute thing we've got together, but hey, really happy to kind of be on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to talk about a little about some Indy, especially Indy 500. I'm excited. It's been a crazy season, and you mentioned earlier 5 different winners in 5 different races. Are you a little surprised by that?
I think I'm more surprised by the guys who haven't won. I knew going into the season, we've got a super competitive field in IndyCar this year. Like even the rookies are like some of the most experienced rookies that have come in, with Grosjean coming across from F1 for 10 years. Jimmy Johnson obviously is the big name, 7-time NASCAR Cup champion, and Scott McLaughlin as well, a 3-time supercar champion. So just the rookies were competitive, but yeah, no wins for Team Penske, who are the big guys within the series so far. So that's the big shock. And a surprise that Alexander Rossi has been a little bit off the pace as well, but the young guns have kind of shone so far this season. It's been superb to see.
Yeah, as you mentioned, 5 different winners, 5 different races, similar to way NASCAR is right now, where there's a lot of different winners currently. And it's interesting how that works from time to time. And you said the last 5 years, it's been kind of hit and miss, and there's been a lot of different type of winners in different races. Is that normal, or?
I think IndyCar is a super competitive series. So the cars they're not spec, but they all have the same chassis, which is Dallara. They've got the 2 engine manufacturers between Honda and Chevy, but they're fairly close. So it means that, gaps between the fields are fairly competitive through there. Obviously, like in anything, you have your kind of big teams like the Team Penske's, the Chip Ganassi's, the Andretti Autosports. But yeah, even within those teams, they're stacked with 4 or 3 great drivers, each of them, and they kind of share it out. But also the other guys in the Rahal Letterman, Lanigan Racing teams, the Ed Carpenters, Dale Coynes, if they get it right on their day, they can also win as well. So yeah, it's been a super competitive series, and I think the championship for the last 15 years went down to the last race. So that's superb for the series.
You just mentioned Alexander Rossi, and he's really popular in a lot of people know who Rossi is. Why do you think he's struggling this season?
The man just can't catch a break. When there's just things in sport that you go, things conspiring against me. I mean, some of it has been driver error, but quite a lot of things have just been out of control. I'll give an example: the Texas race 2 that he was at. He was involved in a crash at the start. Completely not his fault. Someone took him out, and he's going, this just sums up my luck in everything. But maybe it was a turning corner, the last Indy GP. A P7 isn't exactly the headline grabber, but considering how his start of this season has gone and last season went for him, maybe it's a step in the right direction. And he's so strong at Indianapolis, you can never count him out in the Indy 500.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would want to see Alexander Rossi somewhere in there and get another Indy 500 win. So speaking of the Indy 500, who do you think is the favorite to win and why?
Favorite to win. I mean, this race, there are so many competitive cars in there. Look, Scott Dixon and the Hondas look quick. The Honda for some reason, probably looks the quickest of the two engines, but where Chevy might come into play is their fuel mileage does look better. I think that's what the benefit came in, especially on the second race at Texas. The fuel mileage for the Chevys certainly played a big part in there. So Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato, obviously last winner Takuma Sato from last year, looks quick in practice. Scott Dixon just, man, he has got a really good package together with that Honda, and he's a six-time series champion, and he's only won the Indy 500 once. So I think he's really hungry to kind of put another one to his name. So those are probably the guys you're going from a kind of Chevy point of view. Will Power is looking quick. It's hard to rule out a Team Penske. I mean, they quite comfortably have won more Indy 500s as a team throughout history than anybody else. So I suppose if you were having to put money on it, you'd back those guys. But man, if someone puts it together, you don't know. It could be anyone. Qualifying is going to be interesting this weekend for sure.
I saw a little bit of the betting line. I think Joseph Newgarden was also in there. What chance would you give him to win this year's Indy 500?
I would love to see Joseph Newgarden win, but it's just something that's kind of eluded him, the Indy 500. He's a two-time series champion as well, one in his rookie season, not his rookie season, but his first season with Team Penske, the championship. He's okay. He's good at Indianapolis, but I don't know if he's necessarily been too strong there. His best finish has been third, I think, 2016 with Ed Carpenter Racing. So he hasn't historically, compared to, like we said, Alexander Rossi always seems to be in the mix for a win. Joseph, I can't really remember any off the top of my head of him being in the mix for a win for the race, but he's such a good driver. It seems crazy that he hasn't won the Indy 500 yet. And yeah, it may be his year this year.
It'd definitely be exciting. What about a guy like Jimmy Johnson? I was a huge fan of him when he was in NASCAR. I don't think he's going to win. But what chances, or where do you think he'll finish and why?
So he actually isn't racing this year's Indy 500s. He'll be part of the coverage. So obviously coming across from NASCAR, the difference between single seaters and obviously the stock cars in NASCAR, I think the braking and how you enter the corners is a lot different. And he's obviously still trying to get up to scratch on that. And not being a spring chicken anymore at 45 years old, I think he's having a look this year. But I think we'll see Jimmy in it next year. But if he was in it, I think, chances of any sort of win would be rather slim at the moment. He really is finding his seat. I've got to give credit to the guy because it's such a hard transition that he's made. And at 45 years, an absolute NASCAR legend, he could have just hung up his kind of racing gloves and said, you know what, I'll just go around and do all the media stuff. But no, fair play to him. He wants to carry on racing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how far he can go with this. I think I'm definitely excited. I think a lot of people are. Let's go back to the season so far. What rookie has been the most impressive in your opinion?
Now it'll be between Scott McLaughlin and Roman Grosjean for this one. Scott McLaughlin is the only kind of full-time entry rookie because he's doing all the ovals. So he's doing the Indy 500. He did the 2 Texas rounds and he'll do Gateway as well. And obviously Jimmy Johnson and Grosjean are doing no ovals this year, although both or one of may enter Gateway, but I think that's up in the air. But so far, Scott McLaughlin got a P2 in Texas Race 1, making it a Kiwi 1-2 as Dixon won that race. That was very impressive, especially his first performance on an oval in a race, because he had a couple of street courses and road courses before that. So that was a really impressive. And he's just been solid with Team Penske in there or thereabouts. And considering the team hasn't won a race this year, I think he's been very impressive, but it probably has to go to Roman Grosjean, to be fair. For Dale Coyne, one of the kind of smaller teams within it, but, they try hard. They don't have the budgets of the kind of the big teams. He got a pole position last time out, the Indy GP, and finished P2 in the race. And coming across from Formula One, although he probably has the best skill set compared to Jimmy and Scott McLaughlin, it was incredibly impressive performance what he did for Dale Coyne. So I'm going to back Grosjean for this one.
Where do you think he'll finish this week? Or did he qualify for the Indy 500 this week?
So Roman Grosjean's another guy that has opted out of it because, again, similar sort of thing. He's got a family, like Jimmy Johnson, cited the reasons, just going, they want to bed themselves into the series before committing to driving 220 plus mile an hour around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where, any mistake can, end up in quite a serious injury, even with the safety, steps that we've taken in modern day IndyCar.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's definitely going to be a fun race to watch this year. What are you looking forward to most this season about the Indy 500? I think there's going to be fans. There wasn't fans last year, but what really are you looking forward to this year for one of the biggest races in the world?
Oh man, well, it is the greatest spectacle in racing. That's always what it kind of brands and stuff. It's always just such an amazing, exciting event. There is no motorsport event right now. Currently, I've said before, I think Le Mans has just kind of dropped off, in the last few years, especially not having competitive at the front. I think Indianapolis 500 is the biggest one in the world event, and that just makes it so exciting. Someone can become a legend or enhance their legacy by winning the race. Next Sunday is usually chaos. There's lots of overtakes. It's exciting. You pretty much most of the time you don't know what the outcome is going to be until that final stint of pit stops come through, and even then a late caution can change everything. I mean, last year's race ended under caution, so I'm hoping this year we're green all the way to the end, and we got an exciting close finish between whoever it is in the field.
Speaking of last year, Tacoma Sato, he got his second win at Indy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a good chance? I think I saw a little bit earlier today, but do you think there's a chance he gets his third win at Indy this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Takuma Sato over the past couple of years has really developed into a guy who's lightning quick on the ovals, and he really seems to have kind of adapted well to it now. Obviously, traditionally coming from a European / continental background of traditional road course racer, he's finally clicked. Indy 500 is his best track as well. He's looked quick in practice so far. Obviously, you can't take too much from practice because, everyone's running different programs, tow times, non-tow times. It kind of distorts things a little bit, but he looks like he's got pace there. And he's got a good chance, if any, to make it back-to-back wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. I think last year was a crazy race, and to be able to win on the last lap or whatever was very, very incredible. I think I've already mentioned this, but who do you like this week I think you mentioned a little bit, or who do you like the most to win this week?
Oh, it's a tough one. It is a tough one because I kind of got a soft spot for all of them. I'm amazed by the quality of drivers in their field, and I can't knock anyone in goes. Obviously, being a British guy as well, Jack Harvey for me has been one of the drivers so far this season for Meyershank Racing, a team who've developed and built over the past few years, going from a part-time team into a full-time team for the past couple of seasons. So it would be superb to do well. And yeah, I'd love to see Joseph Newgarden do it because he's such a great driver for the series. He's such a great personality as well. The Indy 500 is all he kind of needs to kind of complete that package of, asserting himself as one of the modern day greats in the sport.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm super excited for this, or I guess it's next week, but I'm super excited. Can't wait. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting that you would want to mention about this year's Indy 500?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, man. I think we've covered it all in terms of, well, obviously we've got, I'm not sure when this goes out. We might have had qualifying and bump day when it comes out. It's exciting that bump day returns. There's going to be obviously two guys who miss out on or girls, because Simona De Silvestro for Pareto Autosport, that team coming in as Indy 500 owner. One, which is great to see a female racer back at the Indy 500 again this year. But it's such a super competitive field. Who's going to miss out? who's going to get that pole position. And man, race day is just such a big event. It's the month of May is just so special for any racing fan, I think, who's an IndyCar fan.
Yeah, Indy 500, even if like you're not a super big Indy 500 fan, you always seem to want to watch it around this time. And it's a very fun, one of the funnest races to watch. Could you tell us more about your podcast before we end the interview?
Absolutely. Yeah. So basically we release, usually this month's a bit busy because we got more to talk about in terms of 3 videos a week, but it's usually a kind of a Wednesday podcast with me and my brother Stephen, who's not here, he's away on holiday at the moment, but yeah, it's me and Stephen who do our podcast where we kind of round up the relevant stuff. So all the latest, whether that be race reviews, previews and stuff like that. And then obviously in close season, just talk about relevant topics that are in the news at the time. And then we do feature videos, kind of looking at the history of the sport, as we kind of learning and improving our knowledge of the sport. We're kind of putting out feature videos, kind of that, whether that be legendary drivers coming out, whether that be just general history of the sport, notable moments in the sport's history. That's kind of what Indy Fanatics is all about.
All right. Thanks again for coming on, Mike. I'm assuming you can get your podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify and most places, and YouTube as well.
YouTube is the main place, not yet. I'm useless in terms of uploading that. I may pick your brain actually for the best platforms to put it out on Apple and Spotify. But yeah, no, YouTube is our main platform at the moment because us mugs like to put ourselves on camera and everything on that. But yeah, JJ, thank you so much for having me, man. Really enjoyed the chat.
Yep, really pleasure talking Indy 500 with you. I'm excited. I can't wait for it. This, I guess it's next week. I keep on forgetting, but definitely excited. Thanks for coming on, and I would love to have you in the future as well.
Absolutely, man. Loved it.
All right, don't forget to check out his podcast. You can also follow him on Instagram at Indy Fanatics. All right, thanks for coming on, Mike. All right. I'm pleased to be joined by a recurring guest, co-host of the Pickle Podcast, local comedian, and an avid Milwaukee Bucks fan, Andrew Jones. How's it going?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm definitely excited to talk about the NBA. How excited for the postseason are you this year?
Dude, this is the best postseason ever. The play-in tournament, we've already had, a few of those settled. I'm so pumped, man. It makes it so exciting. So exciting, and anything can happen this year. And I love it. Love it.
Were you shocked by how bad the Wizards blew out the Pacers on Thursday night?
Man, I'm just glad I didn't bet any money. I was expecting Pacers to just whoop them, but Russell Westbrook chooses when he wants to be the man. And tonight apparently was that night. So
to be honest with you, I picked the Pacers to win. I put some little money. I put like $10 on, but I was a little surprised because with how good the Pacers looked against the Hornets on Tuesday night, I thought, oh, this is definitely going to be the Pacers, and the Wizards looked terrible against the Celtics, but it was the complete opposite. So,
oh yeah, no, man, I'm with you. I almost put I would have put like $25 down. I was for sure was a for sure thing. So no, but it's whatever. I don't see Washington going much farther, but I mean, at least they got there.
So their next opponent, the Brooklyn Nets, they look pretty dominant. Do you think there's anybody? I don't think there's even anybody in the West that can probably beat them right now, but do you think there's any chance that they don't make it to the NBA Finals?
The Nets, no. I mean, and I think actually, no, I think it is. I think Washington now plays Philly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Brooklyn's the 2 seed. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, which is shocking, honestly. But I mean, none of them have played together yet. So yeah, Brooklyn plays Boston first. So that should be, I mean, if no Jaylen Brown, that's either 4 or 5 games. That's over. That's done with. Especially if Harden and Kyrie are playing, that's over. And then next they'd have to go through Milwaukee or Miami. So I'm gonna say they get knocked out right then and there. Nets are done. It's over. 4 games sweep, 80-point victories, all 4 games. I don't know, man. I mean, if they get past the Bucks, it's over. Honestly, if they get it's over, and I think they got it all the way. They got it all the way to the championship.
I'm like you said, you just mentioned the Sixers are the number one seed. I always forget to realize that because it seemed like Brooklyn was not trying and they were still could have had the number one seed. But
Yep.
I'm a little weary. I guess I'm not. I guess I'm a little worried about them only playing 7 games together. But at the end of the day, when James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving lock it in, it's almost impossible to stop them. And I feel like Brooklyn probably is going to take home the championship because the Clippers don't seem to be the same team. The Lakers don't be the same team. I think the Jazz and Suns are still a year or two away. But it's definitely going to be very entertaining to see where Brooklyn goes and how far they reach this year. Because if they don't make it even to the NBA Finals, I mean, Steve Nash, does he lose his job maybe if they don't even make it to the NBA Finals?
No, man, that's like a Steve Kerr. I mean, Steve Nash is one of the greatest point guards ever in history. One of my favorites for sure. But no, I don't think they. I think they blame it on the injuries and the time off and Ramadan or whatever. I can't remember what Kyrie's doing, but yeah, I don't see it. I mean, you take the Nets and you say they haven't played together, but then you add a former MVP, a guy who's been in the MVP conversation. That's the guy you're missing. Like on a bad day, that dude is way better than any bench player that anybody else is missing. So no, I see them taking it because if Kyrie has an off night, you got Harden. If Harden has an off night, you got Durant. If Durant has an off night, they got that Mike James new point guard guy that's insane. They have Blake Griffin. I mean, they're terrifying. They're honestly terrifying. So
The one guy I feel really bad for was LaMarcus Aldridge, though. He had a chance to be with the Nets, win a championship, and then everything goes complete terrible for him. So I'm a little disappointed for LaMarcus Aldridge. I think though, if Brooklyn wins, I would assume they would give him a ring just because
oh
he was
yeah,
there for a little bit. But
no, sure.
do you think LaMarcus Aldridge is a Hall of Famer?
I know it's your boy, so I don't really want to talk bad. You know, he's from the Spurs. That's your team. Um, by the way, sorry about the loss the other night. That was a close game. I mean, but um, yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I've never been. He's never been anybody that I'm like, wow, like he's like good, but he's never been anybody I'd be like, that guy changes a team. So I mean, I don't think so. Sorry to say, but I don't think so. Even on the Spurs, he was okay.
I think LaMarcus Aldridge kind of plays similar to Tim Duncan, but he never quite had that moment. And I mean,
Or the 5 championships.
yeah, I mean, that's another good point as well. But I feel like when LaMarcus Aldridge went to the Spurs back in 2015, that was the one time I think they were good. Or they had 2 or 3 years where they were really good, and after that they were kind of just mediocre, average after Kawhi left. And I felt like LaMarcus Aldridge, for the first time in his career, he had a chance to win a championship where he was with a legitimate team. But I guess we'll see what happens there.
Oh yeah, dude. When as soon as they announce like Aldridge gets released and goes to Nets, I was like, well, it's over. I don't even know why we're having a playoff. It's over. Like, no, dude. That's it's really unfortunate. I mean, if I was him, I would have. I guess. I mean, you're kind of screwing your team over, but I would have been like, no, I just need to sit out for a little bit. Like, just sit on the bench, just be like, no, there's something going on. I don't know. We'll figure it out, just to make sure that you got to watch it and be a part of it. But no, he'll for sure get a ring. I think he only played like 7 games for him, but yeah, he'll get a ring for sure.
I mean, he's probably a Hall of Fame he's probably a Hall of Famer for the Portland Trailblazers and maybe for the Spurs, but I think at the end of the day, he's probably not going to get into the Hall. Let's start off again. Let's go back to the playoff preview. We kind of already touched up on Philly and Washington and Brooklyn and I'm trying to remember now Boston, right? And then the next series would be Milwaukee and Miami, a rematch from last year's conference semifinals.
Yep.
So who do you have in that matchup and how long does it last?
Man, I gotta go Milwaukee. I have to. Well, but worst team to play. Worst team that we face off. I mean, they're not anywhere near where they were last year, but God, they're so scary. No, they're terrible. Like when it was flip flopping up until the last day of the playoff picture, and then that's where we landed. I was not happy. So nervous about Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. Nervous about Dragic is healthy. I don't even know if Oladipo is playing. If Oladipo is playing, that'd be terrifying. I don't think he's playing though. Man, I hope we get out in 6. I would say maybe 5, but 5 or 6. I hope it goes fast. I hope that Drew Holiday plays like we paid him to during the playoffs. So yeah, hopefully Milwaukee in 4 or 5, and then if that happens, Milwaukee and Brooklyn, 6 or 7 games. But I think it's going to be a fight.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely going to be one of the most fun series is Milwaukee and Miami. Of course, last year it was the Eastern Conference semifinals, and I think the Bucks definitely want revenge. And I think Miami's not the same team they were last year, but you definitely don't want to get Jimmy Butler riled up, because if he gets that, it's almost impossible to stop the guy. Similar to when Kobe would get riled up. So anyways, but I think at the same time, I think Giannis he's pissed off of always getting beat in the playoffs. He wants to finally get there. I think he wants that championship ring, because if he doesn't, people will continue to doubt Giannis. Oh, he can't make it. He's got to join a big team. And I don't think he wants to. He doesn't want to go to like a big market team just to win a ring. So I think it's going to be fun. And I got Milwaukee in 6 games in that series as well.
Nice. Yes. So, and then lately, at least Giannis, when I've watched him play, he has this I'll take over, I'll score 40 or 50, and he just has this boom, 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 and sometimes it doesn't work. But the biggest thing is going to happen, and I know this is going to be a problem, is over the years they've been able to build a wall for Giannis and stop him, and he can't pass. Now he's got people to pass to. They're not great because it's Pat Connaughton and stuff, but now we got Brian Forbes from the Spurs, and he's really, really good. But the problem's going to be is if it needs to be a shot at the end of the game, Giannis is going to want to take it, but Middleton should be taking it. And that's why we've lost so many games, is because Giannis will doink up a shot from the free throw line when Middleton would have, just backed up, spun, and just swooshed a shot. Him or Holiday. So if Giannis can be the man for 47 minutes and then in 30 seconds and give that dude his time for 24 seconds at the end of the game, that'll be the difference. But we'll see if it happens.
It seems like Chris Middleton is always kind of that forgotten guy, and he's so good at the mid range. And I think if they focus more on Chris Middleton and gave him the ball more, besides just Giannis getting the ball every time, I feel like the Bucks again would have won more games. And I just feel like, again, Chris Middleton is just a kind of a forgotten guy, but when he is on, he's one of the best mid-range shooters in the league, which is really hard to do. But I definitely think that's great advice. I think Chris Middleton, I think he's one of the top. Well, he's probably, I don't know if he's top 5, but he's somewhere in the top 7, top 8 range. But I definitely think that's a good point about Middleton. All right, so let's go to the next round. Not a whole lot to talk about. New York and Atlanta. I'm still stunned New York is the 4 seed. Julius Randle, what a season. Tom Thibodeau definitely deserves to be somewhere in the Coach of the Year discussion. Who do you got coming out of that series?
I definitely think New York. I mean, Atlanta's too young, and it's all based on shooting. They've got nothing else. So I mean, I think Julius Randle blows up. I think Rose was good. I think Nick's got it.
Well, on the other side of Atlanta, man, this has been kind of a weird season. They didn't start very good at all, and of course, it's not really hard to get the 5th seed in the East. But they fired their coach Lloyd Pierce, and their assistant was it? I can't remember now who their assistant. He was at Indiana before, wasn't he? The Hawks assistant. I can't remember his name. Yeah, it will come up to me eventually. Oh, Nate McMillan. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of interesting how the Hawks kind of came out of nowhere, and it's been a huge, just a huge way they've came. Trae Young has been excellent, and I feel like the supporting cast isn't their best, but I still think the Hawks that I don't think they can get past the Knicks, but I do think they have a bright future, and it's interesting how they came a long way from the start of the season. All right, at the end of the day, who you got? You got the Nets, Bucks, Sixers. Who do you like the most and why? You got to pick one.
Well, I mean, if I have to pick one, I'm going to go with America's team. You know what I'm saying? The Bucks, baby. We're going all the way this year. All the way. Top. Giannis MVP. It's over.
It'd be really crazy to see the Bucks win. I feel like more free agents would be attracted to go to Milwaukee, even though that's not exactly a free agent destination. But especially with how good Giannis has been, and Giannis would solidify himself probably as a top 3, and maybe sometime in the near future as one of the best players in the league. So that would be definitely great for the city of Milwaukee and, of course, the team, the Bucks. All right, so now let's flip to the West. Let's start with the play-in game. Grizzlies, Warriors. Of course, I think by the time this recording comes out, the game is already going to be scheduled. But right now, who do you like in that matchup, Grizzlies or Warriors?
Well, first off, I don't want my background to distract everybody, so I'm gonna just put some like art or something like that on the background. There we go. That's good. Okay, cool. All right. Don't want to be too distracting. So I'm going to say the Warriors beat the Grizzlies, even though the Grizzlies are playing super good right now. I think the Warriors are going to take it.
And do you like the Warriors upsetting the Jazz, or do you like the Jazz just rolling the Warriors just like normally how the 1 seed does?
No, I'm saying if it goes Golden State, Utah, I think Golden State takes the series.
Wow. So you got an upset, maybe what, the third time ever in NBA history that a number 8 seed beat a number 1 seed. You have to go way back to 2011 when Memphis upset San Antonio. And then, of course, the Warriors back in 2007 upset the Mavericks. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. Yeah, man. I think if anybody could do it, man, Steph Curry and the crew. I mean, they can, and they've been there. Well, not all of them, but most of them have been there enough times where they know what to do.
It would definitely be up, and I think a lot of people might end up changing their MVP vote from Jokic maybe or Joel Embiid back to Steph Curry. So, I mean, even Kenny Smith said right now the best player in the league is Curry, which I don't think I agree with, but it's still interesting how that works. So, let's go to the next matchup here. Let's see here. It starts, I think, Phoenix and LA. Who do you like in that matchup?
I definitely like the Suns more. I would love for the Suns to beat them. Can they? I don't know, man. The Suns look pretty. The Suns are. I didn't realize how good the Suns were doing. Just because I was just watching basketball, I wasn't like paying really attention to the standings or anything, and then all of a sudden I saw Phoenix had the shot to be the number 1 team in the league, and I blown away. It's Chris Paul. I mean, he's the man, and they talked about him being MVP. He doesn't have the numbers for it, but that dude is probably the most valuable player to have on your team, just smart wise. But him in the playoff versus LeBron and AD and half that crew, unfortunately, I think Lakers are going to take it. I hope they don't. I want Suns to go. Chris Paul being in the finals would be super dope, but I think Lakers got it.
Yeah, that'd be, I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, the Lakers are somehow going to make it to the conference finals at least, just because it's the Lakers, it's LeBron. They look terrible against the Warriors, and they still managed to beat them by 3 points. So it's going to be fun to watch. I probably have the Warriors, or not the Warriors. I also probably have the Lakers knocking past the Suns. Again, it's just going to be so hard for the Lakers to get beat. And I feel like they're destined to make the conference finals, at least now that now it looks like they're fully healthy. So did you have anything more to add to that?
I honestly think whoever wins that series goes to the finals. Whoever wins Suns, Lakers, I think goes to the finals.
Yeah, and as much as I don't want to see the Lakers in, it's going to be hard for them. And I think the NBA really wants right now either the Lakers and Nets or like the Warriors. Well, the Warriors aren't going all the way, but I think right now the NBA really wants the Warriors and Nets. That would give them great ratings.
Oh yeah,
and it would make the play-in game look even better. Which I think at one time it was like, why are the Lakers in the play-in game? They have a chance to lose. So Adam Silver would be one happy commissioner after that. So.
I like that. Warriors. Okay, so I guess I take that back. If Warriors get in the playoffs, they have a shot. They have a shot of going all the way too. I don't count them out at all. They can somehow pull together. They've done it before.
They got to get Steph Curry help though, because I don't think he can score 50 points every night. It's kind of my concern for the Warriors.
Wiggins is looking good though. Like really good. Yeah, Wiggins is looking good. Draymond, just stop getting all these technicals and all these little fouls and making LeBron have to act like he got his eye ripped out of his body. I mean, come on, let's just play.
All right, so let's go to the next matchup. Of course, the leading candidate for the MVP, I almost said Giannis there.
You should.
Jokic. So Jokic, the number 3 seed Nuggets, they take on the Blazers, led by Damian Lillard. I'm assuming you have the Nuggets in that series because I think they win in 5 games. But who do you like in that matchup, and why?
So I mean, so doesn't have Murray, they don't have Barton, but if they had Murray and Barton, I think I think I would put them in the finals for sure. Portland, I just don't think they've ever had enough. I mean, they look stacked, but they're not. So I say Denver somehow wins this, with Porter and Jokic and I guess Aaron Gordon. But yeah, I think somehow they pull this off and they win. But I don't know if it's 5. It might be 6.
I just don't like. I mean, Portland has Damian Lillard. They have CJ McCollum technically, but I still think the Blazers are missing at least 1 or 2 pieces, and I feel like Damian Lillard is always not enough. They always need someone to help him. So I just don't see the Blazers winning that series, and I feel like the Nuggets are going to get it done over with just because of how good Jokic has been. But I see that series in 5, and it could happen in 6 or 7, and maybe the Blazers. Maybe they get an upset, but we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, that's very possible too, man. All these series in the West could go either way, and very easily too, I think.
All right, now let's on to our next matchup, Clippers and Mavs. This is going to be an interesting one because this is a rematch from last year. Both the Clippers and Mavs don't like each other, so it's going to be fun to see them go back to back. I think the series is going to be Clippers in 6, but the Mavs could get a stunner here and they could win 6 or 7. What do you like, or who do you like in this matchup, and how long do you think it lasts?
I'm going to go Mavs because Porzingis is back. Tim Hardaway Jr. is insane right now, and Luka's Luka. So I'm going to say that the Mavs beat them in 6. And I think it goes to, if everything works out how I want it to, or how I think it's going to, I think it's going to be Dallas. It's going to be Mavericks Warriors on after that. So, but yeah, I don't know, man. Paul George, dude. Paul George in the playoffs.
That's true. That's true. Because almost every place he's gone to, if you go all the way back to Indiana, OKC, now the Clippers, it seems like it always ends wrong or always ends bad, and he can't produce for his team. So that's kind of a concern I would have as well. But I just think Kawhi Leonard is so good. And I might be a little biased, but I do think he's the best player in the league when healthy. And now it's the postseason. Now it's no fooling around. He's going to get it done. I feel like even though Paul George will probably somehow screw this up, I think Kawhi Leonard will be able to help the Clippers pursue past the Mavericks. Even if it's a 7-game series, he's going to find a way to do something as well. And plus now you have Rajon Rondo, which should be some more experience and all that good stuff.
Huge. And Cousins.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And if he can actually perform, yeah. So it's going to be a fun series. I think that might be one of the better series outside of what Milwaukee and Miami, who we just mentioned a few minutes ago. So that's going to be fun to watch as well. All right. So at the end of the day, who you got coming out of the West?
I have, man, if I have to pick one, I'm going to go. It's probably going to be Lakers, but I'm going to go, man, I'm going to go with Phoenix.
Wow. So you really think Chris Paul is finally going to get that chance to finally play in the NBA Finals?
I think so. I think if he can get past the Lakers, I think the rest will be easy for him. My main throw up there was either Phoenix or the Warriors. I just something feels like I had a weird feeling about the Heat last year. I have the same feeling about the Warriors this year. So we'll watch. We'll put this out, and they will have been eliminated in the playing game, and people will be like, "This guy doesn't know what he's talking about." But if Warriors make it, they're definitely possible. So a Lakers, Phoenix, or Golden State. I would love Mavericks, but Luka has no one. Absolutely no one on that team besides him. And I'm even saying Porzingis is no one because he gets injured so much. So
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of
tough.
Porzingis either. And even when he's healthy, I don't think he does enough to be able to produce. And I still think he's getting overpaid. And I feel like if Mark Cuban wants to win another Larry O'Brien trophy, he's got to give Luka some help. And
Oh
maybe
yeah.
I'm not sure who they can get in free agency, but he's got to get him more help. And I think the Mavericks, I think it's like the Jazz and Suns. I think they're still a few years away. But you got the Suns going all the way. To be honest with you, I have the Nets coming out of the East. And man, it's so hard to predict the West. And I think it's probably going to end up being the Lakers somehow. And people are going to say, oh, LeBron's the greatest now that he took a 7-seed team all the way to the NBA Finals. But I think I do like the Jazz. But again, I don't know. I still think they're too young. And I
Yeah.
don't know if I can really trust the Clippers because of Paul George. So I'm just going to settle with the Jazz just for now. That's going to be a terrible prediction, but it would be fun. It would be fun to watch the Jazz and Nets in the NBA Finals. All right, so let's go
Yeah.
MVP pick here. It seems
Well, I don't know if you now obviously this will be out by the time this comes out, but I mean it's already been announced, dude. It's already over. Right there, dude. Right there. MVP. It's already over, dude. They already announced it.
That would be definitely wild if Giannis won it, even though he's not in the running currently. But I think Jokic is the front runner. Who do you got winning and why? And do you think there's possibly a chance that Steph Curry could somehow win the award?
I think that's the two choices. Honestly, I think is Jokic and Curry. I think if Curry would have played all year, it would be Curry. But I think Jokic, he's played every game. The one where everyone else sat out, he played, and he had a crazy game. So I think Jokic just got it, and I'm cool with it. And finally, if there's going to be what they say, a center to win since like Shaq or something like that. But because I think Giannis doesn't count as a center, I think he counts as everything on the floor. So, but yeah, I would say Jokic. I'd love to see Curry win it, but he got the scoring award, so that's still pretty cool that he came back and got the scoring award. So, but yeah, I think Jokic has got it. If Curry got it, it'd be cool too. But I don't see that. I don't see it happening.
That's crazy to mention that you said it's the first time in a long time that a center has actually won it. I think you'd have to go back to no, I guess Dirk Nowitzki, but he's a power forward. And I guess Kevin Garnett is more of a center. I think he won at 03/04. And then before
Yeah.
that was Tim Duncan. So that's crazy that a center has not won it since then. And I guess I mean, centers are completely different now, but it's pretty cool. And I think most big men would be very, happy and very pleased. But I feel like if Joel Embiid didn't miss so many games, he would have been the MVP. And I feel like he, for the most season, was the best player in the league. And I think he is, at the end of the day, the best center. But again, Jokic playing every game, not missing anything, and not having one of his best players around him, Jamal Murray, and still grabbing the 3 seed, and we're the toughest toughest conferences in the NBA, in the Western Conference. So I think that definitely deserves a lot of credit. And I feel like Jokic has now I don't know if he became a brand, but I feel like he's now starting to advertise himself as one of the best players in the league. I'll just say that.
Yeah, he's a household name now for sure. And it was Tim Duncan in 2002, and that was the year he repeated back to back. So that was the last center.
Yeah,
or no, he's a power forward. They said so. It'd be Shaquille O'Neal in 1999.
Well, technically, I mean, Tim Duncan played more as a center. I think today he would be a center, similar to the way Kevin Garnett won the award the year after he did. So, I mean, you could kind of say which way. So, let's go on to some other awards. The Rookie of the Year. That seems like that's going to be a pretty interesting race. LaMelo Ball had it the whole season, but then he gets hurt. Wasn't supposed to come back. Anthony Edwards had a remarkable season. Played almost every game, but then LaMelo Ball came back. Now people are saying it's going to be LaMelo Ball's. I think Anthony Edwards should get it because he didn't miss much. What do you think on that?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, I was all about LaMelo. Like the whole time, and then when LaMelo went out, I was like, oh, he's not gonna, he still may get it because Edwards is playing just okay. And then Edwards went on a tear. He had like 42 points, like a bunch of 30-point games, and they're all like 28 points and 7 assists and 9 rebounds and 2 steals. And I mean, just insanity. And he just seems so smooth. So, and then Melo came back and he wasn't very good when he came back. So, man, I mean, I don't know. Part of me wants to give it to LaMelo because he's so entertaining, but Edwards might be. I'm gonna go with LaMelo because I think he's gonna be one of the best point guards ever. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I think Anthony Edwards should, but I feel like at the end of the day, people are going to give it to LaMelo Ball. But I'm kind of hoping that Anthony Edwards gets it, and plus I think LaMelo Ball does get his team is a little better, so I think that's going to help him a lot. I mean, the Timberwolves, the second worst team in the league outside the Rockets, so
Yeah,
I mean.
Yep.
The Timberwolves don't have much to really say, and not many people watch the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean,
Yeah,
people watch the Hornets just because of LaMelo Ball. So,
100%, dude. And the passes that he did, the showtime. I mean, I'm shocked that. What did he go? Third pick? He went
third pick. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? It was Anthony Edwards, and then
James Wiseman.
Yeah, I don't understand why the Warriors with LaMelo passing and like he learned how to shoot the three, like that. Clay, Steph, and him, and they'd still have Wiggins, dude. Just keep Draymond at the center. That would have been a sweet team to watch.
Well, I mean, James Wiseman technically probably was one of the best prospects, and he was so athletic. And I think they thought Klay Thompson was going to be healthy. And then when draft night happened, like an hour before they were going to make their pick, they found out that Klay Thompson was going to miss the whole season. So I kind of understand the pick of James Wiseman because he was also the safe pick, and we weren't sure what we were going to expect from LaMelo Ball because he just came back from an injury in Australia. So I can see why they took James Wiseman, but I think they're going to probably be killing themselves for the next 10, 15 years. And I mean, LaMelo Ball might end up signing with Golden State because Charlotte's not a huge market, but
yeah. Well, and Lonzo, they because Lonzo's a free agent at the end of the year, they talked about maybe him going to Charlotte, which I think is stupid because they have Terry Rozier, they have Devontae Graham. That's way too crowded. Don't do that. But I understand what he wants to do, but I don't think it would work.
Well, Charlotte has a terrible I want to say terrible front court because their back court is great, but their front court is terrible with Cody Zeller
horrible
and Bismack Biyombo. So they need to trade maybe trade for Pascal Siakam or get some type of forward because I feel like Siakam's going to be moved from Toronto or should we say Tampa Bay after this year. So.
Right. Yeah. No, and I mean even go get yourself Enes Kanter. Go get yourself Hassan Whiteside. Like, go get just a rebounding beast that just plays defense down low. Let your guys score and let the other team just not lay it up on you all the time. That's honestly what they need to do. But yeah, Cody Zeller would not play minutes on almost any other team in the league. So I don't know why they're holding on to him like that.
To be honest with you, I'm kind of shocked he's still in the league, not in the G League yet, or just completely not even playing. So, it's definitely what the Hornets would do if they wouldn't have LaMelo.
Right, exactly.
So this is why they're never good. So,
all right, so I think I'm looking at the Defensive Player of the Year list right now, or at least what it stands, and it says that it's Gobert, Ben Simmons, Bam Adebayo, Clint Capella. So Draymond Green's not even on here. He's in the additional list. I can't stand the Sixers. I don't know why. I just don't like them. For some reason, just always hate him. Plus Ben Simmons, he's 7 feet tall and he's guarding 6 foot dudes. Like, of course you can block people and you can steal and stuff. Like, it's not that impressive. Plus, get a jump shot. Giannis is a power forward and he's learned how to shoot. You're a point guard. Like, learn how to shoot. So I'm not a fan of him at all. So, but I'm not impressed with what he's been doing. Really, like that's kind of what you do. You're an athletic 7-footer. That's kind of what you should be doing. Bam Adebayo, I haven't heard a word about him being a defensive player of the year all year. So I don't know where that came from, and I've never heard any highlights of it. Clint Capella doesn't make sense to me. Rebounding champion, I guess, whatever. So I think it'll probably be Rudy Gobert again. But if I had to pick a dark horse, I'm gonna go with the homer pick. I think Drew Holiday or Giannis is gonna be able to get it. Drew Holiday is a beast. He was the one guarding Durant. He's the one guarding LeBron in games that we play against him, and he shuts them down. So Drew Holiday or Giannis, man, he's still putting up crazy numbers from last year when he won Defensive Player of the Year. So don't count him out.
To be honest with you, I'll probably just settle with Ben Simmons, but I feel like Giannis would be another good option to go back to back. Drew Holiday, Clint Capella doesn't really make a lot of sense, but as you mentioned earlier before we started the podcast, he's got a lot of rebounds, so that would be, relatively why they would put him in there. But I'm probably going to stick with Ben Simmons. But I honestly, Draymond Green's not going to win it. I don't know why he's in the conversation again.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just going to settle with Ben Simmons. But I do think Giannis would be a good dark horse. But, we'll see what ends up happening. But, Rudy Gobert or Ben Simmons is probably going to win it, but I'm going to say Ben Simmons because I just heard the most about the former LSU product. All right. Coach of the year is interesting. I've heard a lot of different opinions. Quinn Snyder from Utah. I've heard a lot of Monte Williams from Phoenix. Tom Thibodeau isn't getting as much as I thought he would. Doc Rivers is another guy. He took the Sixers. They're the best record in the East, at least. Who do you like to winning the coach of the year this year?
I'm going to say Phoenix. I feel like that's who is that? Monte Williams?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to him just because of where they were and where they are now. And not that I'm saying Chris Paul's an only add, but like you only added really Chris Paul. You got like Jay Crowder, but they don't like play that much. But the Knicks are just confusing how good they are. So, man, I don't know. Between the Tom Thibodeau and Monte Williams, Jazz, I don't know. I think people didn't understand, didn't know how to guard them, and that's why they were good. And Philly, they finally got everybody to play, and Embiid's playing like he should. So I don't know, doesn't impress me, I guess. So I would say either Monte Williams or Tom Thibodeau for sure. Probably Tom Thibodeau, just because that's weird to me. That doesn't make any sense.
I do think Tom Thibodeau should get the coach of the year. Why do you think he hasn't got as much love for it, as much like a Monte Williams or a Quinn Snyder?
Because it's the Knicks. I guess they just are like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, they're 4th seed. I guess probably because it's in the standings, it's Utah, Phoenix, Philly, and then everybody else. So, because Steve Nash can't get it, there's no that makes sense. You have a NBA 2K team playing on, so there's no way he's going to get it. And then it's the Knicks are just there. So, I would give it to him, but they're not insane good. They're just should be garbage and are decent. So, but yeah, I assume that's why his record, but I think that he's done so much with nothing that I would take it. So.
Yeah, it is a little strange, but since the Knicks, I think they're very polarizing, so that's why I would think they'd be somewhere in the range. But Tom Thibodeau has done an excellent job. He kind of got screwed in Chicago. He got screwed in Minnesota, and both teams aren't very good right now, even though Chicago got Vucevic from Orlando and have Zach LaVine, but we'll see what ends up happening there. Let's go another award. Sixth Man of the Year. I feel like Jordan Clarkson is going to win that. Do you have any guys that you think should win it, or do you think just Clarkson's going to run away with it?
Yeah, I don't know even who's in that competition for this year. I don't really know besides Jordan Clarkson who's even talked about. Oh, Derrick Rose, D'Angelo Russell hasn't played enough. Tyrese Halliburton. I don't know if he can win that as a rookie. He was okay. He didn't do as good. So I would say, yeah, Jordan Clarkson. As much as I want to give Rose love, he wasn't putting up numbers like Clarkson was. So,
Clarkson was one of the better Jazz players outside of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. If you look at that Jazz team is kind of built, not like super built, but a team is kind of reminds me of the 2015 Warriors at a time. Like they don't have a Steph Curry, of course, but they kind of remind me a little bit of a Warriors team. But I think you can make an argument that Jordan Clarkson is the third best player for the Jazz outside of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. So,
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's probably why. I mean, Derrick Rose, I didn't think about him, to be honest with you. I don't know why I always forget about Derrick Rose, but um, yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Do you have anything else you want to add that we're forgetting?
No, I don't. I don't think so. Yeah, I I mean, it's gonna be a good playoff, man. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun to watch. Um, I'm nervous to bet on it because I want to just enjoy this because this is a really good year for basketball. So I kind of don't want to put extra pressure on it, but um, I'll throw a couple of bucks on the Suns and the Warriors, see what happens.
And technically, there's fans this year, and they're actually in their home arena, so that's at least good.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. And I tried to go to a Bucks Philly game actually um in April. And because of how spread out they are, those tickets are obnoxiously
Of
expensive.
course,
So
yeah.
everybody go get vaccinated so I can go to Bucks games.
All right. So before we end the podcast, I always like to whoever is on, if they have their own podcast or their co-host or whatever, tell more about it. You just recently had a guy from Saturday Night Live on your podcast, from the Pickle Podcast. If you want to tell us more about that and how you're able to book them, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. We had Gary Kroger, who is an SNL alumni. He wrote for SNL. He actually acted on there as well for quite a long time. We talked about everything from old Billy Crystal stuff to we talked about Chris Farley. We talked about the new SNL people. Like it was great. And he's for sure going to be on again. But he lives in Iowa now. He was born in Cedar Falls, and he talks about why he lives here still and why he moved back, and it's just kind of cool to hear. Before that, we had Alan Alameen, who's a local comedian in Iowa, and got a shot to be on a Rogan, or I'm sorry, a Tony Hinchcliffe show, and got into some drama with a dude from the Chappelle team, and it blew up on the internet, and we were able to have him just from knowing people in the local scene. And then before that, we had my homie and comedy co-writer Mitch Banks. So but we're just able to basically people we know or people through people. Alo's part of the community, of the stand-up community that I'm in, and he was cool enough to come on and do the show. Gary Kroger grew up where the other host Kyle grew up, so um, he knew him through there, and yeah, just people connecting with people. So check it out, Pickle Podcast. It's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, normal podcasts, Spotify, wherever you want to do it. Do it. Have some pickles. Tell us about pickles. Write us about pickles. Eat some pickles. Do whatever you got to do.
When I was listening to it, I heard that he's a Packers fan. He talked a little about
Huge.
the Packers. I did not expect him to be a Green Bay Packers fan. What did you think about that?
Yeah, so I didn't know that until he came on. And yeah, he's like a diehard Packers fan. And so we talked about it because we talked about the Aaron Rodgers, thing that's going on right now. And since Aaron Rodgers owns part of the Bucks, I had a little input on it as well. And not to say that I'm a Packers fan, but yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, he's in tune with that. He is a diehard Packer fan. So when you're in Iowa, you can pick any team you want. You can be a 49ers fan, you can be a Cowboys fan, you can be whatever you want. So yeah, he's a big Green Bay fan. It was cool to hear. Yeah.
I'm not really much of a Saturday Night Live fan myself, but was Gary Kruger there when guys like Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell, because those are probably my two favorite actors. If I had a favorite.
Yeah, he talked about how much he admires Will Ferrell. He got out before Will Ferrell. He said that he got out, and we're gonna go more into specifics when we have him on next. We just didn't have enough time because he's such a good storyteller. But yeah, we talked about Chris Farley actually had his room after him, his like where they hang out and write in. So he like got out right when Farley was coming in. So he was still around to talk to him and get to know him and everything like that. But Sandler Farley era, he like just barely missed it, but he was still like hanging out there. He's got stories on stories, and it's super entertaining dude. And he's got a lot to do with like active stuff, like good people, good world stuff as well. So yeah, we're all about having everybody come together and for the greater good of everything. So yeah, if anybody wants to check it out because it is good.
All right, that is awesome. Again, thanks for joining us. That is Andrew Jones, the co-host of the Pickle Podcast, local comedian, avid Bucks fan. You can follow him on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Andrew Jones Comedy. You can also go check out the Pickle Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. All right, thanks again for coming on, Andrew. Love talking the NBA, especially the playoffs. Would love to have you on after the finals or maybe before, or maybe the start of free agency or the draft or something like that. So again, thanks for coming on, and hope to see you next time.
Absolutely, man. Glad to be here, man.
All right, let's wrap up the show with our new segment, Questions from Instagram. I guess it's not really new. It's been around for a little bit now. But anyways, where we answer 3 sports questions from our fans, and I will answer them. If you want to be part of this, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at sports_podcast. It'll be up either on Wednesday or Friday in the story mode. So go, guys, don't forget to check that out. The first question comes from @Joe Williams, and he asks, who was the frontrunner for MVP in the AL after the Mike Trout injury? Good question, Joe. Well, it's a little too early to say who the front runner is. Mike Trout is still the front runner, but if he does end up missing up to 8 weeks, he could lose out on the award. However, if Mike Trout does not win it and ends up losing ground, I would probably say Aaron Jones, maybe Vladimir Guerrero. I mean, there's just a lot of different options. I mean, you could even go with Mike Trout's teammate. So I would probably say as of now Aaron Judge, but he's got to stay healthy, and I'm not sure he can. So, again, there's a lot of time left to be played. I'm not going to say anybody yet just because, again, it's so early in the season. The next question comes from @MavsFan88, and he asks, will Luka Doncic win the MVP next year? He has a great chance, and he's becoming a star, and it seems like he's going to get a few in his career, in my opinion. He's already a top 3 point guard, and even though his team is not great, he will get some more MVPs. But again, next year, I feel like he has to be somewhere in the top 4 to get that MVP. And again, Mark Cuban needs to give him some help. And again, we mentioned this when I mentioned this with my conversation with Andrew Jones from the Pickle Podcast. He has to get a better team around him, and I think if he got another star, that team would be unbeatable, and I think he would be, or not, they wouldn't necessarily be unbeatable, but they'd be really good, and I feel like he would be shoo-in for the MVP, but there's a good chance he probably won't be the clear favorite, but he'll be anywhere between the top 3 and top 5. And this last question comes from @BillyBob214, and he asks, do you have a Super Bowl favorite, or do you have a Super Bowl prediction? Actually, I do. Early in the year, I'd say the Ravens and Rams when Matt Stafford was traded to LA, and I still stand by that. It would be especially crazy for the Rams to host the Super Bowl on their own hosting site the second straight year. As we all know, the Buccaneers hosted the Super Bowl last year, end up blowing out the Chiefs. So I'm going to stand by this until the end of next year or the end of next Super Bowl. It'd be very fun to watch Matt Stafford battle Lamar Jackson. Again, Matt Stafford finally has a team around him, and I think the Ravens are finally going to take that next step. So right now, I like the Ravens and Rams. But again, for all we know, it's probably going to end up being Tom Brady again. He's going to win his 8th Super Bowl, and he's not going to retire until he's 100. So that could end up happening, but I hope not, especially for all those non-Tom Brady fans, I'll say that. But again, thanks for guys for participating. Again, if you want to be part of Questions from Instagram, follow us on Instagram at sports_podcast and fill out any type of sports question you want. No matter what type of sports question is, I'll try to answer it, and I'll try to give you the best answer, to be honest with you. But again, I put it up on Wednesday or Friday. Go check that out. And thanks, guys, a lot. I'll catch you on the flip. Thanks for listening to the Sports Town Podcast, or the STP Pod for short. If you want to check out more videos of the Sports Town Podcast, click on the left. If you want to subscribe to the channel, click on the right.